Hey, and welcome back to Cricut Coach with Rebecca Boland. Today I am taking some inspiration from Denise in the Facebook group. So thank you, Denise. Denise posted what I believe is an ornament, or I guess you could make it a gift tag or otherwise, of a cute bird with a name in the middle of it going across, but everything else cut out. So rather than finding an SVG, I figured we could pop in, show you how to make your own so that you can do this with any image. You can use a flower, you can use a dinosaur, you can change the names out, and you won't have to pay for a new SVG each time. So let's see how we can go ahead and make this ourselves for free in just a few minutes. Okay, so earlier I went ahead and jumped into images, searched for bird, and found a few different bird options that I could get straight from Cricut. Now, I have Cricut Access. Hopefully you do as well. If not, you can find one of the free versions if you're able to use it, or you can get a silhouette clip art online and download it. Personally, I love Access. I'm obsessed with it, and I use this daily, so I love never having to think about paying $1.99 for one image when I pay a really low monthly fee and can use this nonstop, especially through holiday season. So if you want to know more about Cricut Access, definitely let me know. I am a huge advocate. Anyway, the key here with the bird image, I looked for very simple outline, silhouette, kind of clean images, clean cuts, a big round body because we want to carve out a name in the middle. And for this one in particular, I looked for images that had a clean outline around the image. So for instance, this orange outlined dove. And that is because when I go into the project, and I'll cancel because it's already in there, you'll see that the outline of this bird for the design that we're trying to mimic doesn't have a clean shape in the middle. It would be really hard for us to be able to cut out exactly this shape with clean lines and keep the edge the same. So while we can use the slice tool if we're trying to make a standard shape, for instance, the circle, a heart, all of those, in this instance, if we can find an outline in Design Space, let's go with it. So here are three that I found access to. None of them have feet, so hopefully your mind wasn't set on the feet. But honestly, if it really is, you can take your shapes, add a square, make it small, and you can make yourself some feet pretty quickly if you wanted to, right? You can take your tool, and next thing you know, you kind of have some feet out there. And oh, well, I deleted that. So you see what I'm saying? Weld those on and you can have feet. Otherwise, here are three images we can look at, and I will show you. I think this orange one looks good and has a nice round body. So in this case, I would go with this orange and yellow bird, and you can scroll over to the right and see that these are already 2 layers, so we don't have to slice them. We would start with ungrouping them. And again, you can see now we just have one of each. And what I want to do, let's put it back the way it was because I want them to be perfectly centered. And I'm almost interested to see what would happen if I made it a little bit smaller. No, that's not going to work because the proportions are not even. So I'm going to leave it the way it is. Now, this outline might be a little bit thin depending on how large you're making this design overall and what you're cutting it out of. For instance, if you are cutting it out of craft board or something heavier or thicker, you probably do want to get a little bit more of a thick background, and maybe that's where something like this dove design would come in really handy. But let's say that this design works for me as is. All I would do is select both options. So make sure you have both the orange and the yellow, and you can always scroll over to the right and you'll see that both of these rows for the orange and the yellow are highlighted. That's how we can double check. And at this point, you would go down and press slice, and then you can pull it off and you'll see you have this other yellow piece you can pull off. You can delete both of these And now you have just the outline of your bird. So we can go over to text. We'll use the name Charlie. You can see I already went through and found a similar curvy, fun script font. This one is Blanku. It's Blangku, Blanku. And it looks like it is one of the free versions that you should already have uploaded in Access. So unless this is something I downloaded from elsewhere, let me know. But there are plenty of fun fonts. And of course, this looks like one of the pretty popular ones folks are using these days. So when you work with fonts, typically you want to make sure that you have the letters connected, especially in a script font like this. So you'd want to scroll up to letter space and just decrease the space between letters. And that's how you get your font to connect when it isn't already naturally written out like that. Now, in this case, because we're doing something unique with it, I would go ahead and move it up to the image first before you finalize the spacing between the letters. And you're going to want to make sure that however you lay this out, a lot of the pieces, not every single letter, but most letters will have to connect to the border. Because think of how unstable this will be otherwise. So in the image that we're looking at and trying to mimic, it looks like the C is connected at the bottom, the H is connected at the top, and then the E. And that's about it. So in this case, let's say we want to do something similar, and I do want at least one letter to connect to the bottom. I am going to click Advanced and ungroup to letters, and now each letter in my name, Charlie, is individual. So rather than typing it all out one by one, I can just take this C and I can pull it somewhere more convenient, maybe like this. I can make it larger, smaller. I can maybe curve it just a little. Maybe I can do something along those lines. And then maybe I can do the same. We'll copy these other letters. So I'm just playing with the font, and I won't be cutting this one out, so if you don't think it's perfect, I don't blame you. But all we need to do here is, let's see, you can drag each letter, make it a little longer. The key is that you want the letters to connect. You do want several letters to connect to the top and bottom, and you need to make sure all of the letters connect to one another. So here I am clicking the unlock button, which allows me to change the proportions of the letter. So you might see how I am kind of stretching them to elongate a lot of these letters so they don't look as natural as they did before, but when I elongate them all together, they come out just fine. Let's see. You do want all of your letters to connect. If you really wanted, you could stretch the L up all the way to the top and get a little extra boost, but I think in this case, maybe it's a stretch, but just to show you how you can give it a little more support depending on what you're working on. And then of course, when we get to the E, you want to make sure that the E connects to the end as well and give it a nice chunk of overlap here so that it's pretty strongly connected. Now again, you can play with the letters as much as you want. You can change the designs, maybe try all capitals, change different fonts around. But there are a lot of options here that you can work with. So now the next step is to highlight the entire object and take your cursor over to the right-hand bar to the bottom and weld it all together. And as you can see, when you weld it, it automatically becomes all one image with clean cuts and no breaks in between. So now you can look at it and you might decide, okay, the L connected makes it look a little funny. I don't like that. The one problem with Weld is that there is no, in the way that you can attach and then detach, you can group and ungroup. Once you weld, it is like super gluing the thing together. So if you don't like it from this stage right here, go back and undo it, because the further away you get from the weld step, the more of a pain in the behind it's going to be. Okay, so maybe I'll go ahead and let's just say I didn't like that L. I thought it made it a little too complicated looking. I will make it maybe a normal size here, or a little more in line with the letter H. And we'll go back and we'll weld it once more. And there you go. So now we have Charlie in this image. So 2 more quick pieces. Number 1, we are going to have an issue when we cut this out with the letter I, because the dot on the I is not connected to anything. So either you will have the name Charlie without a dot over the I. And if you want to picture that, we can, here I'll show you quickly. For most people, that's probably not an issue. A lot of the times that happens in designs and folks don't even notice it. Let's go ahead and show you. So it'd be like this. It'd be Charlie. You probably wouldn't even notice. Now, if you do want the dot over the I, because you can see that in the image we're trying to mimic, it does have a dot. You can go ahead and let's take this circle. I took a shape. I have a circle. I'll make it yellow just because you can see it better that way, but not because you need to. You can overlap it, drag it down, and have the dot either overlap depending on your font style. In our case, we can probably overlap it with the letter L or the top of the letter I. And we can go ahead, click it all, weld them together. And now you have, of course, I made mine a little goofy. Personally, I would be fine without the dot on the I, but there you go. Now, let's say you want it to be an ornament, like we have here. Go ahead, add your shapes, grab a circle again, okay? I am going to copy and paste this circle, and I'll make this one orange so you can see. I am going to make this one a little bit smaller. And you can see what I'm doing here is I'm trying to make this little hook on the top. And you can see it's not perfectly centered. I can click one, hold down Shift, and click the other so both items are highlighted. Scroll up to Align and use this Align drop-down menu. And I would just click this center right here. And there you go. It has perfectly centered both of my circles, so I don't have to worry about eyeballing it. And while they're both highlighted, I'm going to scroll back down to the bottom right menu and click Slice again. And that means that what I've done is where these two overlap, I have sliced that out of this image. So I'm going to drag orange away, delete it. I'm going to drag the center gray away, delete it. And now I have a ring. I can make it smaller. You can also make it the size you want first so you can see, because looking at it now, maybe my ring is a little too thin, but that's up to you. Now place it wherever you want. You know, if you want it here, so that way the bird is flying a little more horizontally, you can put it on the top. You can put one on both sides so that you can hang it perfectly horizontally. But I am going to put it, you know, I like this space right here. So I'll put it here. And again, Shift, hold down both, and make sure the bird and the ring are both selected. Again, you see that in your right-hand menu. They're both darker gray. Scroll down to the bottom, weld them together, and now this is one image. And that's it. Now you have your Charlie design. I've deleted everything else. You can go to make it, and there it is. Easy as that. So please let me know if this helped you. Let me know if I went too fast, too slow, skipped over pieces. I really want to be able to help you, and I don't want these to be long, but I definitely don't want you to feel overwhelmed or that I am going too quickly either. So please let me know, share a post, share it in the comments so that I can make sure that my tutorials are perfect for what you need. See you next time. Bye.